Hey, it's Phil from Contemplative Chaos, and thanks for tuning into my channel. Have you ever seen and wondered what these green golf ball sized fruits are at the base of some trees and wonder what you can do with them? Well, they're black walnuts, and today we're going to entertain, educate, and inspire you to dehusk, clean, crack, cook, and feast on this forest product with a little help from my children. But first, a little skit by the kids.
Make a snowman with you and bake a delicious cake for your birthday.
Hey guys, I want to make cookies this week. What kind would you guys like?
Can we have chocolate walnut cookies?
Yeah, we can do chocolate walnut. I'll add it to my shopping list. I don't have any nuts, but...
Why would you do that? We have walnuts in the backyard. They're falling like rain.
Yeah, well, it's kind of cheaper and a lot easier to get them at the grocery store.
Well, Mom, black walnuts are a lot more nutritious and delicious than the English walnuts you find at the store.
All right, I'm sold, but all the work is on you guys.
All right.
Daddy!
Yeah?
Can you help us get the holes off the black walnuts?
Why can't I be like a normal dad? Come home to a cold beer in my hand. Why do I have to come home to kids who want to do something with me?
Here, Dad. I knew you want one.
I guess I have no excuse now. Okay, what's the situation?
We can figure out how to get the holes off the black walnut.
Do you guys check Google? That usually has some pretty good suggestions.
Yeah, we did. Nothing worked.
Nothing worked? How about cutting off the hole with a knife?
Too slow, and it's a cut hazard.
How about using a hammer?
Not much meat for our efforts.
How about running them over with a car?
Hit the brakes! Hit the brakes!
Yeah, that didn't end well.
A baseball bat?
Lost the nuts.
Okay, sounds like you tried everything, except... You guys use a paint mixer?
No.
Kids, if you want to collect your own black walnuts and dehusk them, the best way to do it that I found is to use a paint mixer. Let me show you. As you can gather from this skit, I think most of the methods you see online for dehusking black walnuts are kind of silly and inefficient. But at the end of the day, the question is, did you have fun doing it? And all the methods we tried were quite fun, especially for Dominic, a 12-year-old, who I gave the car keys to. Seriously though, let's talk about walnuts. We have several black walnut trees in our yard. I love black walnut trees for their valuable wood, which I use for woodworking, for their fruit, which is great for the wildlife, and for us, with a mature tree producing 50 to 60 pounds of nuts a year, and even their husk. Smell these things. Well, you can't, you're on YouTube, but if you could, they're aromatic, almost smelling like a citrus lemon lime soda. Yes, these big green things are the fruit of the black walnut tree. Botanically speaking, these are drupes and not nuts though. But for the rest of this video, I'll be calling them nuts. You know that black walnuts are ready to harvest when they're kind of soft like this. You can kind of push on them. See, when I push on them, they leave an indent. And they smell really fragrant. Okay, so inside is a black walnut. And if they're black, that's all right. We noticed that some worms go in there. They lay their eggs in there. And they don't get inside the nut though. Well, let's collect them now. Not everyone has 6 kids to pick up their nuts, so nut cages are available, which seriously speed up collection time. I throw them in 5-gallon buckets and wait for enough to process. And now we have enough. Okay, dehusking. Black walnuts are encased in a tough green husk that turns black as it oxidates. We need to take the husk off to get to the nut and then dry the nuts. This is how I do it. So the first part is to empty some of the black walnuts into a 5-gallon bucket, then fill it with water. So the next part is I have a paint mixer. I put little nails right there. Here, I'm gonna put some nails right through there and it stays in pretty well. That's the only way when it spins, it'll actually tear up the chunks of walnut. I admit, I should use a mud mixer, not a paint mixer, but I'm cheap. Okay, so what you're left with is this thick black sludge right here. Watch out. So take something to filter it out. I'm using an old milk carton here. And do not put this in your garden. The juglones in here, the chemical that of black walnuts, is going to kill some plants in the garden. And they might not all be dehusked, but this will let the liquid drain. Yeah, there's some that weren't quite broken up yet. So any of those, we're just gonna pot back in there. We're gonna wash out all the gunk. And you might have to do this a few times. Just gonna toss them back in here. Back of the water and do it again so they come out really clean. Okay, so they're pretty much clean. If there's any floaters, any that float to the top, you want to take those out. Those are bad walnuts. There's probably no meat inside. So we're just going to dump them there. And you want most of them to look pretty clean. Like that one right there. And that one, it's black right there, but that's all right. You can still see the ridges in the net. And then when they look like that, we're gonna spray them off really quick. And we're gonna let them dry. It's important to air dry the walnuts before you put them in bags. Like I'm gonna put them in burlap sacks, but first you wanna make sure that they're dry. So the black one here, this one's already dried. You don't want any surface moisture on it, because that will encourage mold to grow. While this one here is still wet, and you wanna let that dry before you put them in bags. And so here's, just letting all these air dry right now, and then once they're air dried, we'll put them in bags. Right, Benny?
Yes.
Say cheese.
Cheese.
When the nuts are drying off on the outside, you can scoop up all the nuts and put them into a burlap sack or some kind of sack that will allow some air circulation. So the nuts are dried and ready for cracking. Don't crack any more than you can consume in one shot because they will go bad. Please spare yourself the hassle and don't use a hammer, unless you are a masochist. There are nut crackers out there, but I, once again, am a cheapskate, so I built my own. And it works pretty well. The video is coming in a week or two on how to make that. Then I'll post it here. Yeah.
Hello folks, today I'm going to show you how to crack some of these black walnuts without using a hammer, a vice grip, or one of those baseball things, bats. So we're going to take this, make sure the bottom and the top are like that. Then we are going to match our wedge stuff. And then we're going to stick that like that so it fits in there. And then stick it right there. And I'm going to put this other piece on top. There's some graphite on the top to make it slippery. I'm just going to stick that and match it up. Make it a little bit tight. And then I'm going to take this, crack it, that, Then we take this out. Then-
Wrong. So I'll give you the nuts, and you can pick the nut meat out. Got it. You learned a little trick from Feral the Forager, and he said soak these things in water for about 24 hours. We just did about 12 hours, and it does seem to help a lot. While we crack nuts, let's discuss history. Why? Because history is fascinating. It grounds us in the present and reminds us of the past. Black walnuts, or Juglans nigra, have been a staple in North America for centuries. North Americans valued black walnuts for the nutritious nuts and used the husks to create a natural dye for clothing and baskets. Black walnuts were a staple for early American settlers, providing a reliable source of nutrition and sustenance. Black walnuts were part of the diet for 19th century explorers like Lewis and Clark, who enjoyed honey black walnut bread during their expeditions. And during World War I, black walnut wood was used to make airplane propellers. In World War II, the U.S. government encouraged people to donate their black walnut trees to support the war effort. Nuts are cracked, and now the meat needs to be separated from the shell. The YouTuber Feral Forager has some great tips on this too. Videos in the description. You don't want to get a shell in your mouth unexpectedly. So, it's a culturally significant trait, and the nuts are nutritious and delicious. A 1 ounce serving contains about 170 calories, 7 grams of protein, and 17 grams of healthy fats. They're also rich in antioxidants, which can help reduce the risk of heart disease and cancer, which makes me feel a lot better when I put them in cookies. And I think they're pretty tasty, especially compared to the thin-shelled English walnuts. But you'll have to work for it. These are hard nuts to crack and are difficult to find in the grocery store. But if you do, it's probably under the Hammond's brand name, which, interestingly enough, are wild harvested nuts collected by people like you and I. So give them a shot if you don't have a nearby black walnut tree. So, looks like we have just enough black walnuts for some cookies. Whether you're dehusking, cracking, or just munching, black walnuts are a nutty delight with a rich history and a ton of health benefits. Thanks for joining us on this walnut adventure. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for nutty content.
No, we're not going to touch them all.
I hope that I entertained, educated, and inspired you to do something outside with some black walnuts. See you next time.